And good morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to another frustrating edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Louisville. A few days ago, sorry we took a little break to revel in the football win. Your Indiana Hoosiers go on to start an incredible Saturday for Indiana with a loss to Louisville, 87-78, taking the record of this team to 7-2 and still obviously 0-1, in the Big Ten. Could hopefully change that tonight as they do play their second Big Ten game tonight against Penn State. Just hard to win a game when you spot the other team 16 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. And going to start with a little bit of depressing things and how we got there in that time was here are the first possessions of Indiana in this game. It went turnover, missed layup, turnover, missed three, shot clock turnover, missed three, missed layup, two missed layups in a row. One of those was a putback attempt, missed three, followed by IU's first points were a dunk by Alexis, metaphorically and physically breaking what seemed to be a lid off the basket for Indiana. It was truly just kind of the athleticism and physicality of Louisville that was just too much for this IU roster. This isn't the most athletic team, and this game is kind of really the one that showed it. Now, I commend the fight in this team. This is kind of a game that past IU teams that we've seen would have folded a lot sooner, getting punched in the mouth. They did fight. I mean, that being said, 3/4 of the game, IU fought back, but it was hard to look at anything else as a positive when you're in such a hole. They stayed in it, but they just weren't aggressive enough to overcome. You start trading baskets back and forth, you're not going to come back in a game. And they had their opportunities, and it just didn't quite stick. There were reasons why in this game it appeared like we needed guys like Connor Enright out there to fight. I mean, Connor Enright was really kind of one of the one players kind of keeping things together or trying to jumpstart things, doing those extra little hustle things, keeping that physicality, fighting with that edge. There was, I think, that one moment where he took that charge and got up and bumped the Louisville guy. And yeah, slight bit dirty, but when you're down and you get punched in the mouth like that, you got to hit back. You got to do what it can to jumpstart the team. And love to have him. I wish we had him and we had him able to score some points and be a scoring threat as well for this team, because that's what we need. And I think that's the kind of player that DeVries likes and really wants. So we'll see as things kind of flush out with this team and this coaching staff as they can kind of get more of the players that they want that's going to fit the system. Obviously, right now, it's just kind of a matter of you're brand new. Let's hit the portal. Let's see what we can find. This is what the best we could do. Now let's do the best what we can with what we have. And there's going to be games like this that we have. And the 14 Louisville in this game would take a 14-point lead into half, which again shows you after spotting those points, IU kind of fought and was metaphorically in a 2-point lead going into half. And that was just the trading points back and forth. And the second half would very much start the same exact way, just trading points back and forth. And at the 14-minute mark, IU would bring it within 5 off of 2 threes from Tucker and Lamar. But Louisville would climb right back into it and brought it up to a 19-point lead by the 7-minute mark. Again, it's one positive is this team did not give up at any point in this game, and they would at least cut it to a 9-point deficit to finish this game. Obviously, something that's going to look better in the future for IU, going to look better in the metrics, because this Louisville team is a fantastic team. This Louisville team is a Final Four caliber team. They could go very far in the tournament. They're athletic. They've got shot makers. They got players where they need. They've done a fantastic job in his second year of a coaching staff to build a good roster around what they want to do. And this is kind of things that you hope for this staff and everything in the future moving forward. So Uh, a loss, it stinks, but at least metric wise, it'll look better down the way. Thank you for being here with us. Again, sorry for the delay of having a show. I felt like we needed to kind of revel in that football win. I didn't want to sully Sunday morning and everyone waking up and Hoosier Nation so excited after quite a football game to have to bring it back and depressively talk about basketball. So that's what the delay is. So thank you for being here with us on this delayed version. Here with me always, Martha, the mop lady. Martha, give me your kind of opening thoughts looking back at this game.
Morning, Chadwick. Yeah, I think the two games last week they're going to turn out to my hope is to be a very good lesson for Indiana. Louisville. What I liked about Louisville was, and obviously we're not in this for moral victories or anything like that, but Louisville's everything that Indiana isn't right now. They're deep, they're athletic, they're big. You heard Robbie Hummel talk about their one big guy. He's played pro minutes overseas, and that's the new era of college basketball. Is these are the type of rosters that you can put together. Well, we're in year one of a roster that was thrown together pretty quickly with some talented guys, but we're not deep, we're not athletic, we're not big. We can shoot the ball really, really well, and when a team takes that away, you've got to be able to have answers. And last week, Indiana in both games didn't have answers, but I think in Louisville you started to see them figure some things out. Now, you never can get down to a team against like Louisville. You can never get it down to a team like that 16-0. You give yourself really no chance because you're playing catch up the entire game, and Indiana did a really, really nice job of that. It still wasn't quite enough, and I think what you saw from Indiana while they battled defensively, while they started to figure some things out, they're still, I think a combined 14 points down low, and there's just not an answer down there right now. And do I think they're going to figure it out? I do. But I think what one thing last week showed you is when teams take away the shooting from Indiana's got to be able to adjust quicker and find answers on the fly, on ways to score the basketball. I think Tatum Connerway, and we'll get into him in a minute, struggled a little bit against Louisville. He's the one guy that I think can create space and get downhill, and trying to find ways to get those our I'll call them quick big guys open. We just didn't have the answer right away, but we started to find it. And you take that start away, it was a pretty even basketball game. So you got to take some solace in that. I do think we found some things last week, especially as the Louisville game get on. I'm excited to see them come out against Penn State and have another opportunity against Kentucky. It stunk, right? I mean, it was a bummer. I would have loved to get that win. I would have loved to see what that result would have been if we didn't come out and get behind by 16 points early. But the guys fought and they didn't stop fighting, which is what you want to see, and something that we haven't always seen in the last couple of years. So I was very, very encouraged by that.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it on the head there with talking about the offense, and that's really what it is. This team, when the shots aren't going down, when teams are overplaying the 3-point line for us, the perfect counter for that is either really good, strong cutting and screening, which obviously an athletic team like this can keep up with that kind of situation against a team that's less athletic. But the other way that you counteract that, and I think IU tried to do that in the second half, was you get aggressive going to the basket. You got to get downhill. You got to have guys like Tatum that can get downhill. He struggled, like you mentioned, but I think one person that really did try to get downhill a little bit and just used his size and physicality was Tucker DeVries. He was IU's leading scorer at 26 points. And he had, let me see, I think he had like 17 of those in the second half, which was a clear thing of him trying to get downhill and get to the line for Indiana, where he was, bring up the stats right now live, 9 for 10 from the free throw line in the second half. So that shows, and obviously the adjustment by him and the coaching staff to try to absorb that physicality and that contact that was happening in the first half. Now, I will say it also threw IU off a little bit to start the game because the refs were allowing a lot of that physicality. I think that's kind of an additional thing that you see. There's a time in college games, especially at the beginning of the season, where you have to adjust to how things are going to get called. And until the refs overall kind of settle on, all right, this year we're going to be calling these things. Obviously, blocks or charges are not going to be something that's going to be called. It's interesting to see how we deal with that physicality, and I think they adjusted well in the second half. But I think DeVries was kind of one of those things to get things going. The one critique I will have for Tucker in this was his defense. I think his defense really lacked in this, and more so in the realm that it seemed like he wasn't making those extra hustle plays. He was a lot of times matched up with McKinley, their 3-point scorer, kind of a mirror image of him, but a little bit less physical, was only going to be out there. If you look at the scouting report on this guy, he's only going to shoot threes, and that's all he did in this game. He shot 9 threes, made 5 of them for 15 points, and a lot of those were credited to Tucker not hustling through the screens, not going over the screens, trying to duck under, giving that little bit of room for him to knock those down. So your thoughts on maybe the offense overall, or kind of talking about Tucker's game?
Yeah, it's, we've become so reliant. You look at our shooting splits. We're becoming almost too reliant on the 3-point shot, and I think it just speaks to some of this team's current and existing issues. Is it almost feels like we have to rely on that 3-point shot right now, and it's when it's not falling, it makes the offense look really, really one-dimensional. And that's the challenge. I think Tucker, for everything that Tucker is, he's a great basketball player, he's a great shooter, but he's not the most athletic kid in the world, right? And when he's matched up against a team like Louisville, that kind of shows a little bit as well. So I think all in all, he battled, man. He got a couple lousy foul calls on him. But to be able to put 26, I mean, granted, he only shot, I think, 5 of 14 for the field, but he still ended the game with 26 points. And a lot of that's because he got to the foul line consistently. So, we've talked a lot about, the missing the 3-point shots, relying too heavily on that. But he was the one guy, I think, that as the game went on, he was trying to find that space, get to the rim a little bit. And while he's not the greatest and most athletic in terms of finishing, he was able to draw fouls. So I think that's going to have to be part of what Indiana does moving forward, especially if we can't get that consistent production out of our big guys, right? We're going to get into the Big Ten where our big guys aren't quite as big as the other teams, and we're going to have to find ways when 3-point shots aren't falling to get to the free throw line, to score at the rim, to find space. And I think Tucker did a pretty good job of that as the game went on.
Yeah, and that, as you mentioned about the big guys, this also kind of wasn't that game, speaking big guys wise, for Indiana, for Reed Bailey. It's just kind of too athletic and physically team for Indiana. Whatever it was that the coaching staff told him in the halftime of that one game was, I don't know if that was the Minnesota game or whatever, that he came out and was more physical and had one of his best halves. That didn't work. Yeah, there you go. That didn't work in this game. He just struggled with the physicality of this team, going 3 for 5 from the field, and it was just 2 for 3 from the line. Didn't really get to the line, didn't play through that physicality in this one. So disappointing to see that from him. Sam Alexis, I was really kind of hoping that he could kind of come in and be that person as well for Indiana. And there were times where he kind of would bump underneath with the Louisville bigs and finish with 6 points on 3 for 7 from the field for him. No turnovers from either of those guys. So at least I'll see that. And 4 and 5, 9 rebounds total between those two big guys. But yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, that physicality, those bumping. This was kind of one of those games where Louisville had one of their big guys in, and I still want to see those games where Reed Bailey can use his ball handling and his just overall basketball IQ and shooting and all that kind of stuff to really take care of the bigs, kind of take his disadvantages and somehow make him an advantage. I don't know. I maybe it's not in there for him. I don't know. What are your kind of thoughts on our big guys?
I feel like against a big lineup, Reed Bailey would be a great in the 4 spot, right? Because he's a little undersized to be our big, and I feel like at times his hands are a little bit soft as well, and that's those are two pretty big challenges to overcome when you're facing teams that have more size, right? Because I think he struggles at times to grab rebounds. You mentioned I think they had a combined 9 rebounds. I feel like that number needs to be higher from our bigs. We one thing we've struggled on is allowing teams to get offensive rebounds, and I hesitate to use the word soft. I don't think that's fair. But when you're a little bit undersized and your hands have proven to be a little bit challenging, that's a bad recipe, and we've got to just find a way. He did look like a different player in the second half against Kansas State, and we're going to need second half Kansas State Reed Bailey moving forward. There's times I think when we're really outsized that maybe it makes sense to start Sam Alexis. He brings a little bit more beef, I think, and a little bit more size. Bring Reed Bailey off the bench. I think that's one change you might see as we get into the Big Ten season, but it's clear that this roster, and there was a lot of discussion leading into the season, and I kind of wanted to let it play out because I just had no familiarity with the team. But it was just like, man, we're going to struggle to protect at the rim and get baskets at the rim, defend at the rim. We're just missing that size piece, and I think, and that's the risk of this era where you've got a first year coach and you're throwing a roster together, in a couple months. Like, it's not going to be perfect, and it's tough, and I don't think it was by choice. It's not like these big guys, these Big Ten big men are growing on trees, right? So that's something that you've got to be able to recruit and have more time to be able to develop a roster. But this is what we've got, and I think you're already seeing some slow lessons learned and some adapting by Coach DeVries and the staff, and I think you're going to see Reed Bailey play better. But part of it's going to be making some adjustments here moving forward and putting these guys in a little bit better position. So. Wasn't great, but I've got some belief here moving forward that it's going to look better.
Yeah. We're really kind of seeing as we start to get into the meat of this schedule how we as a fan base may have elevated our expectations a little bit higher. Obviously, I think overall, and I'm not speaking for everyone by just saying the fan base overall kind of went into this season very pessimistic and very wait and see kind of situation. And the early success against some lesser opponents and some decent opponents too started to climb that expectation a little bit higher than it maybe should be. And this is going to be a team that it's going to have games like this. I think this is going to be a very roller coaster team looking into this year, that we're going to have some really good highs, and then we're going to have games like this where it just the matchups are wrong and the personnel and things just don't hit. So it's going to be a ride. It's going to be a wild ride, not only for this team, but for us as fans to watch this. And you just got to be prepared for that. And we're going to be here to have to talk about that. And it's going to be a roller coaster for Martha and I to get up and kind of talk about good games and bad games and everything like that. But that's what this team is. The other person that's interesting, and I just, you get those players on teams that you see one trait that one player has, and you just want to pull some of that from them and just give some of that to another player. And for me on this team, I want to pull some of Connor Enright and his just dog and his aggressiveness, and I want to give it to Lamar. I think Lamar, while a fantastic player, I think he lacks that next switch, that next hitch to kind of get more aggressive and a little more physical, trying to fight things downhill. I think he has moments of that, but I think in this game, I just found myself constantly wanting to say, like, Lamar, you're good. Like, take it to them, show them, be nasty. Come on. But I didn't see that from him. He finished with 12 points in this game, was 5 for 15 from the field, 2 for 9. I think it's that 5 for 15 that you look at where he kind of struggled to find makes, that he goes down on himself. But I want to see that extra fight. Does that make sense to you? Do you feel that same way? What are your thoughts on Lamar?
Yeah, I think you're looking for a little bit of dog out of him, right? I think in these situations, and again, it's sometimes you got to take a step back and remember that these guys, the bulk of this roster outside of a couple of guys, come from mid-major basketball conferences. And so this is a new stage for them. And it's not an excuse. It's just reality, right? This is the first time that these guys have been in, probably playing in NBA arenas and in situations and games like this. And, Lamar Wilkerson's a very talented basketball player, but we needed more out of him against Louisville. We needed that counter to Tucker DeVries, and we've seen it out of Lamar in some of these early games. He just didn't look like he had that. I don't know if fire is the right word, but that flip didn't switch in him where he was, he looked like he could take over the game at any time. He just looked like he was kind of pressing a little bit. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, and it's Louisville's got some athletic guards. So I think you looked early on. It was, I think he finished 5 for 15 from the field, 2 and 9 from 3. That's rough. We've got and he's a much better shooter than that. So to me, that shows that he's pressing a little bit. And I think he was on the court for all but 4 minutes. So, we've got to find a way to get some more production out of Lamar. Struggling shooting a little bit. So what are some things we can do to get him downhill a little bit? And again, he's not the most athletic guy, so you've got to rely on that shot a little bit. So I think it might be a confidence thing. And hopefully it was lessons learned in this game, because again, we can't have 5 for 15 Lamar, and maybe getting back inside of Assembly Hall tonight is going to be the answer he needs. But, as I say, shooters shoot. So you want him to keep shooting. And to me, it's just kind of a confidence thing. And what can the staff do to kind of pull that confidence back out of him? And I think you might see it tonight. At least that's my hope. So we'll see.
Yeah, Tatum Connerway, his first foul out of the year. That was, though, in kind of at the end of the game when IU was trying to extend the game. He was that one player, obviously, we wanted to look to in this game to be the guy that breaks down into the lane and is able to kick it out. I think Connor Enright obviously is the other one, although the difference between those two, the glaring difference obviously is that Tatum is more of a threat once he does get downhill to that basket, whereas Connor isn't necessarily. Yeah, I think he struggled to find that as well in this game. 5 points for him, 2 for 7, 0 for 2 from the charity stripe for IU. 21 minutes. So obviously the early foul trouble for him obviously caused him to sit out and miss more minutes in this game. Obviously, I wanted to see as much. He had 34 minutes, so he had a lot more minutes. So I'm looking at. Oh no, that is Tatum. Sorry, Connor Enright fouled out Tatum with 4 fouls in this, but yeah. Tatum, I think, obviously, you want to see in games like this where IU is struggling at the beginning to find points out of their stars. I think we talk about who's that third guy, and it in more times than none, at least in little stretches in the game, that needs to be Tatum Connerway. He needs to be the one that, when the 3-point shots aren't falling, he needs to be the one that realizes, all right, switch needs to turn on. I need to get to the basket, collapse this defense, then find those kickouts, and then that'll jumpstart the 3-point shooting back going. He's kind of like that spark plug, that jump that you need to call AAA for that IU has, and he lacked it in this game. What are your thoughts kind of on maybe Tatum and our 2-point guards overall in this game?
I think Tatum had a rough week. I think you go back to Minnesota. I think he had a rough game against Minnesota and a second rough game against Louisville. The thing that jumps out to me is the 5 turnovers. I think he had close to 5+ turnovers against Minnesota. We've got to have a little bit better production from that standpoint out of our point guard, right? And we talked about he's the one guy that's got some speed and quickness on the perimeter. His ability to take care of the basketball, get to the rim, maybe draw some fouls, get some buckets, I think takes pressure off the rest of the team a little bit. And we really didn't get that out of him. He looked like he was pressing just like Lamar did. So, when you combine those two guys, Connerway and Lamar, and their struggles, that really gives kind of Indiana no chance, right? If those two guys are collectively struggling in a single game, especially against a team like Louisville, right? One of those guys has to step up. And just feel like Connerway is trying to put maybe a little bit too much on his shoulders, because I think, it's no secret that these teams are going to try to shut down the perimeter, and that puts the challenge solely on our bigs and Connerway a little bit to kind of create and get downhill, and it's almost like he's forcing it a little bit too much, and some of these passes are just kind of reflective of that. So yeah, I think while he's on the court for what would we say 21 minutes because of foul trouble. It's five turnovers in 21 minutes. That's not a great line. And I think the one thing your point guard and your lead guards have to do is take care of the basketball. So again, it's one of those things where it's not like Louisville's an easy ask, right? They're long, they're athletic, and so that's going to provide some challenges. But hopefully it's lesson learned, because we're going to see a lot of teams similar in Big Ten play, and I think we'll be better prepared to see him, and I think we'll see a better version of Tate and Connerway as well.
Yeah, the one, I think, great thing, obviously, to come out of this game, finishing talking positives player-wise, this was kind of Nick Dorn's coming out game in the second half. All kind of within the second half of the second half, honestly, even too. Finished with 15 points. IU's second leading scorer on 5 for 7, all threes in this game, all 3-point shots. I'd like to see him try to get downhill. He's a very athletic guy. I'd like to see him add that in with that as well. He can also kind of be that threat for IU. Also tied for the top rebounds on the team, along with Reed Bailey and Tucker with 5 rebounds. Again, one of IU's most athletic guys, and I hope he adds that to the game, but great to see him build each game to a little bit more rhythm and a little bit more offense and finding his game, because we're going to need him. It was and all this that he did was in 16 minutes of play. So yay for Nick Dorn. Great to see that for him. What are your thoughts on Nick?
It's the Nick Dorn we've kind of been promised, right? Or have read. Not promised, probably a bad way to say it. It's the Nick Dorn we've read about, right? It's the, we've talked a lot. At least I've talked a lot about it, right? I keep bringing him up, and I'm like, man, for everything I've read about Nick Dorn, obviously starting the season off injured, and Coach DeVries has talked about how much practice time he's missed and how much, he's still getting into the flow of the game, getting in shape. All of that, right? And it's kind of shown here in some of his early games. But obviously, from everything we've read and his stats last year, we know the guy can score, and we finally saw that. So my hope is this is the Nick Dorn you see moving forward, because you can never have too much shooting, because as we've seen so far in this season, not everybody's going to be on every single night. Shots aren't going to be falling every single night. When you have one more option to turn to in a Nick Dorn, and if that's the version of Nick Dorn we can get, I think, and a lot of his points came late. You saw a lot of them come in the last 3/4 of the game. And does that mean anything? I'm not necessarily, but we were looking to kind of close that gap there late, and we did. So, but I think it was the one bright spot from this game, outside of our continuous fight to keep it a close game. And after getting in that early hole, the one bright spot I think was Nick Dorn and what he brought, and kind of the game he finally showed, something that we thought we've had for a little while. I mean, he also, one thing that sticks out to me about Nick Dorn is he was tied for the team lead in rebounds, which, 4 defensive rebounds, 1 offensive rebound, total of 5 rebounds. And then that's a guard. That's a stretch guard getting that. And that's, it goes more to my point about we need more from our bigs. So it's good to see that. A great night for Nick, and I hope that's the Nick Dorn we have moving forward.
Yeah, it's moving on to looking at some stats and numbers in this game. It's a really kind of odd stat sheet to look at, because when you look at it, it doesn't really kind of tell what my eyes saw in this game. When your eyes look at this game, you feel like the stat sheet would look a little bit wider apart between these two teams, but it's a lot closer and better, and that's due to Indiana being a little bit more efficient in the second half. IU finished 41% from the field. They were over 50 in the second half to Louisville's 46, so not much difference there. 3-point shooting, that's where some of the difference is. 32 from IU, 42% from Louisville. They were 13 for 31, where IU was 11 for 34. From the line, that's kind of where a lot of the discrepancies are. While IU was very efficient at 15 for 19 for 79%, Louisville was 24 for 28. So they got to the line quite a bit for 86%. So really good on them. Turnovers, an even 13. IU, though, I would say took care of the ball a lot better after that opening segment that I talked about. 4 of those turnovers would come in that opening segment when they went down 16-0. Rebounds even at 34. Weird to say because you wouldn't think it looking at the eye test. Just a really interesting stat sheet up and down. What are some stats that stand out for you, Martha?
Yeah, I meant to mention this when we were talking about Nick Norn, but his 15 points came in 16 minutes of play. So that's pretty good production. Obviously, you mentioned 3-pointers, but Louisville making 13 3-pointers, falling behind 16-0, and giving up 1.17 points per possession. That's a big mountain to climb. And while I feel like Louisville's going to score the basketball, right? They just are. They're that good. They've got answers everywhere. You look at the stats, and it's a little bit deceiving because I think overall we played some decent defense, save that 16-0 start. That you watch that. It's a very even game, right? And again, Louisville's going to score. And I think if you just look blindly at the stats, man, we really struggled defensively. I just think Louisville's that good, and they're going to score the basketball. But so are we, right? We've got to have answers, and we did after that start. So I think that's, when I look at the stats, I think they're a little bit deceiving in the sense that, man, you look at these on paper, we played really, really bad defense. I don't know that we did. I think we can rebound a little bit better. I think that there's some things you can highlight to say, man, we need to be better in these spots. But we played our butts off, man. I think Coach said that. We just can't have that kind of start. We know that teams are going to come out and stop us on the perimeter. And I think it's going to be a great lesson learned. If Indiana continues to play with the effort and intensity that they played 3/4 of the game with, we're going to surprise some teams. And there might be losses that we've seen, but we're also going to surprise some teams. And I think that's all you can ask for right now.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a restructuring of my brain and our brain overall. When you kind of watch and look at this team, they didn't stop fighting. They didn't stop trying. And again, we can't look past the 16-0 start. You can't flush that happened. That was part of the game. But you look beyond that, and they played a very high caliber team very closely for the rest of the game. So it was very interesting. And I'm avoiding saying it, but I don't know if you caught this. And Darren DeVries did say in the press conference, he said the dreaded H word. I don't know if you caught that, Martha. He talked about getting over the hump with this team, and that gave me a little chuckle when I saw that happen. And honestly, it's kind of true with this team. That was that horrible start, that mound of earth that they needed to get over in this game to find some things. But again, it's the fight in this team that's going to pay dividends down the road in some other tighter games. And that is at least some solace I take away from this game. So it's that kind of thing. They're a top 10 team. You played them well. You gave them an advantage to start, but then you fought throughout it. So handshake to them and you move on. And IU will continue on tonight against Penn State. It's an 8:30 p.m. game Eastern against Penn State at home. Thank goodness. That's going to be a great thing for Indiana. It's on FS1, so I look for a big bounce back on this. I look to see some aggression. I look to see some rhythm on offense and those shots going down, because IU did get open looks in this game, and they just didn't rattle down for them. But we'll see how they can come back and everything. And we're going to shift to a different sport next. I think there was another sport that was played on Saturday. But Martha, give me your closing thoughts at least on this before we shift to some fun talk.
Listen, it's and Gritty said this in the chat. Saying hump is a fireable offense, but it's only a fireable offense when you say it five plus times in one season. Okay, we'll give Coach DeVries a one-time pass on saying getting over the hump. But if he says it again, within the next couple weeks, then we start to scratch our head.
It wasn't said in an excuse to cover up other things. I will give it that.
Good. Well, so a team that did get over the hump, good segue there, right, is the Indiana football Hoosier. My final thoughts on this game. It's, I in a perfect world we go 2-0. It's the perfect Indiana sports day. It's just Louisville's good. I think Louisville's top 10 in the country. The good guards. They added Connerway from, he's now on his fifth school. They're kind of, in my opinion, I say this respectfully, but they're kind of what's wrong with college athletics. They've got guys that have played pro on their team. They've got guys on their fifth school. Connerway has been at, started out at, I can't remember where, Indiana State, Xavier, now Louisville. He's on his fifth school in 4 years. And they are a very, very seasoned, veteran, balanced team, and it's a tall task, man. When you're in game 7 or 8 of Coach DeVries' tenure with a roster that hasn't played a ton of competitive basketball together. It's a tall task. It's a tall mountain to climb, and the one thing you couldn't do was get behind 16-0. But when you erase that, it is a pretty evenly played game. And it would have been easy just to roll over for dead after getting down like that. But the boys fought. They fought hard. I just don't think we have the horses right now. That doesn't mean our shooting's going to keep us in some games that probably shouldn't. And that always makes you dangerous. And I think Coach DeVries is going to have these guys in a better position to hit some shots. So I'm excited about what the rest of the year brings. I'm hopeful this team puts itself in a position to make the tournament. And I'm still all on board, right? It stinks. Last week sucked, but onward, in my opinion. Lessons learned. You're not going to go perfect, but you got to take this game and learn from it a little bit. So a lot to take away, and we'll see how they bounce back tonight.
Yes, and if we needed to on Saturday pay homage or send a sacrifice to the sporting gods in the era of a 16-0 start, to have the evening that we had for Indiana fans and for Indiana Nation, and the redemption and the reward for the years and years of suffering to win that Big Ten championship game. What a game that was. What a football game. What an evening. What a memory creator. Just thinking about all the Hoosiers and all the different generations being able to come together and watch that success together. And I myself watched it here in my basement with my daughter, and she is just old enough and starting to get into it. And she's sitting there screaming and hollering with me and high-fiving me and everything like that. And you've seen many stories across Twitter and across the podcast. Galen and Scott recanted some of that as well when they were doing their post-game show as well. You hear about the generations of fans and the loved ones that were true to Indiana football through the tough, through the hard, through the ups and downs, and the slight bit of success, hoping upon all hope that we can at least go 500 and can go to a bowl game. And that was the dream and amazing for those generations to have those generations be able to see it now. I myself, my father, huge fan of IU football and a season ticket holder when we lived in Indiana. I remember myself going to those games, and I didn't watch a lick of those games. I was one of those kids sitting in the end zone, sliding down the grass on cardboard, playing touch football with friends and everything like that. You go to the games, you have a ticket, but you can sit wherever you want. To be able to know that he got to see this and he is living this right now is what you dream for IU sports and what sports are made of. This is what sports are all about. Living through and being a fan of a team that struggles for years and then just to bask in the glory of success that finally comes. What an amazing game. What an amazing win for IU athletics, for the university, for the town of Bloomington, what it's going to pay dividends for the future. How did you enjoy that win?
Man, I've been going to Indiana football. I get a little emotional when I think about it. And I've grown up, played football growing up. I've always been just a massive college football fan, and as an IU grad, as I've always supported my team, and it's been painful, right? It's like, man, I wish we could play some big boy college football at some point. And there's been those bright spot moments, and they've been few and far between through the years, but I've been, like I said, I've been going to Indiana football games for almost 30 years, and it never in my wildest dreams. I think you asked me a couple of years ago. I'm like, man, if we could just get I'm not going to say six to seven, because my daughter would come in and yell at, yeah, that thing. But just get that magic number to hit a bowl game each year. I mean, in a perfect world, like get 6 to 8 wins, and we're happy campers. And to have back-to-back seasons like we've had, and to just see a guy like Coach Cignetti come in and say, to change the entire thought process around a program. And I think it just goes to show you that when you set a standard in life, and that standard is the standard, and you believe in it, and you don't accept any type of excuses just because something hasn't been done, doesn't mean it can't be done. And you put a plan together, you execute the plan, and you have buy-in from every single piece around it. There's nothing that can stop you from achieving it. And I think it's an awesome story, regardless of whether you grew up a fan, but knowing what Indiana came from and the lack of any type of belief around the program, to see how that's changed in 2 years. And does NIL help and transfer portal help? Sure. But if it was that easy, every single team would do it. Every single program would do it. It's taken something special to have achieve it, and it's been Coach Cignetti and belief in every single aspect around the program. And I think you're now trying to see other programs around the country try to mimic it. All of a sudden, we're going to invest more into football. We're going to do this, that, and the other. And it's the Cignetti approach. And to have us playing in the road, I mean, it's a dream, man. To have us beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, to now have us going to Pasadena to play in the Rose Bowl. I just remember growing up watching the Rose Bowl every single January 1st. I'm like, man, what if Indiana ever played in that? It just seemed like such a impossible thing. So to have that now be a reality, it's special, and I think it's great for the state, great for the university, great for the fans, great for the Bloomington community. It's awesome all the way around. So exciting. I'm still on cloud nine. I think I will be until this is all said and done. So exciting stuff.
It was the perfect game too. It was the perfect roller coaster, quite the blood pressure raiser. And it's, as a Hoosier fan, as a part of Hoosier Nation, and you're kind of always waiting for that other shoe to drop, that other foot to drop. Like, we've got it too good. What it's going to happen. And then that's what football has been in the past. When we've had a little bit of success, here it comes. Here comes the injury. Here comes this or that. And when that foot has dropped or anything like that, this team has risen. I mean, the roller coaster of this game, the very first offensive play, and your star quarterback goes down and does not get up right away and is rolling around. And that is a collective Hoosier Nation. You felt go, here it is. Here it is, where we lose. We get a great toy for Christmas, and it breaks the minute we need it, kind of thing. And to see him get up and fight through it, and to just kind of be just what Hoosier Nation would want, that quarterback that fights through everything, that is about the right things, that gives those dorky flippin' post-game talks. He is just a Hoosier through and through, and so grateful that this coaching staff has shown not only how good of game planners are and good at their job individually, each assistant coach, but where this team excels. And I was talking with my dad yesterday about this, is the player evaluations. I mean, you don't have a team and a squad put together like this with guys that are 0 stars or that were overlooked, that were at the lower level, and bring them up to this level. If you don't have a coaching staff that can evaluate and find those great pieces, and not only find them, but then bring them together and get them developed. I mean, you think about players like Omar Cooper, and hopefully he's doing a lot better, and can, all reports say that he will be available for the Rose Bowl. But players like that who are Indiana guys and have stayed with this team and have developed into what he is. Now the interesting thing moving forward, and this was the discussion I was having with my father yesterday, how do they mix that? Because I think this team and this coaching staff has to mix together both that great analytical portal finds and mix that together with now being able to recruit, because this is opening some serious doors. And we've seen it in this up and coming recruiting class, the amount of 4 stars and higher star players that are going to come in. But they got to mix those two together, because you can find those 5 stars. Always the gap of freshmen coming in is that going to translate? Are they going to make that leap? This coaching staff can take that risk a little bit more, I think, than other teams can, because they can fill in those gaps with those great finds in the portal. So it's so exciting, such a great thing to be a part of Hoosier Nation at this time, to see it in person, to live it, to pass it on to future generations. You can arguing on Twitter with Ohio State fans has been a joy and a hilarity for me these last couple days, drinking in those tears of complaining about this hold or that hold and all that kind of thing. I can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're able to do these kind of arguments and everything. And we're not done. We've got football that's going to go well into the next couple weeks and hopefully beyond. Hopefully we are playing football in 2026 beyond a little bit more. And there's other sporting events going on too. So I don't want to put anything aside, because volleyball, definitely check them out. They've advanced in the tournament as well. And we got basketball that dropped a game, is struggling a little bit, but has a great team that they're trying to find their pieces together. A very new team, similar to IU basketball is as well. And so some interesting games to go to. Now, if you are one that can't go to those games, but have your tickets and don't want to use them, trying to find this segue, I'm kind of fumbling over it a little bit, but Martha, tell the people about kind of our unofficial sponsor of the podcast, Hoosier Ticket Project, what they are and what you can do with tickets.
Absolutely. We've got a bunch of tickets have been donated. I say a bunch. I think we've got close to 20 tickets have been donated for the Penn State game tonight. I believe, and don't quote me on this, longtime listener, longtime friend, Gritty donated some tickets for tonight. I think I saw her name come through. Even if she didn't, she is a longtime supporter of the project. So we love the heck out of her. But late start tonight, so there's some people that can't make the trip. So we try to find some home for some deserving kids in Bloomington to get to the game tonight. It's an 8:30 tip tonight. So when you look at late starts and holiday games and things of that nature, it's a great time to get folks to games. And what we do is try to take monetary donations, physical ticket donations, and match those with deserving fans that otherwise wouldn't have the means to get to games, a chance to go. And it's a wonderful thing. We'll have a big group going tonight. HoosierTicketProject.org is our website. You can learn more about us and our mission. If you're interested in donating tickets, there is a process that will walk you right through that on our website on the donate button. We accept monetary donations, or if you've got somebody that you know that may want to go to the game, a great story, never been, first timer, child, you can make a request and tell us their story there as well, and we'll work to get them to the game. So appreciate it, Chad. Thank you. And thank you, Gritty. We love you.
Yes, Gritty said she did as well, donated. And again, it's the holiday season. What better gift to give than give your tickets to Hoosier Ticket Project and make some kids or someone's dream come true this holiday season. HoosierTicketProject.org, again, that is. So that'll do it for this edition, guys, of Hoosier Morning After. Thank you for being here with us, being able to talk a little bit about a wonderful football win as well for Indiana. But we look to the basketball team and hopefully for a good bounce back game tonight against Penn State, like we said. We'll be looking for it. I hope they can get things together. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on any of the podcast things, give a review there, give a favorite, all that kind of stuff. Love to see that and everything. This is a hobby for Martha and I. We love doing this, talking basketball to you guys. So any support you can give in those likes and those views is greatly appreciated. Follow me on Twitter at General Chad. Follow Martha at the Mop Lady. We'll be back again the morning after the next game. Until then, go out there, have yourselves a wonderful day, and let's go Hoosiers.